Hi, hello, welcome to my channel EduMinds. Today, in this video, coordination part 2, we are going to discuss about the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. In our previous video, we have discussed about the different types of nerves and the structure of nerve and the reflex arc and the knee jerk. In this video, we will discuss about the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So let's start. So here in this part 2, we'll discuss central nervous system, of which the part of brain and spinal cord are part of central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and autonomous nervous system. Central nervous system. Central nervous system includes brain and spinal cord. It coordinates all neural functions. It means that the central nervous system will control all the functions related to the neurons. Not much all peripheral nervous system also controls. So now the brain and spinal cord are the parts of the central nervous system. Brain. So we all might have a good idea about brain. It is situated inside our head, inside the skull. So brain is protected by cranium. Cranium is a hardy bone-like structure. The brain is an organ that is made up of a large mass of nerve tissue that is protected with skull. Brain plays a very major role in our body. So everyone agrees that statement. So next, spinal cord. Spinal cord is a long, thin, tubular structure made of nervous tissue which extends from the medulla oblongata in the brainstem to the lumbar region of the vertebral column. So first, let us discuss more briefly about the brain. So, brain. We already know that the brain is present in a hardy bone structure called cranium, and this brain contains of three layers called meninges. The space between the inner layers is filled with a fluid called cerebrospinal fluid, which protects the brain from the shocks. So, overall, the brain is having three following divisions here. The forebrain, which contains cerebrum and diencephalon, midbrain contains optic lobes, and the hindbrain contains cerebellum and the medulla oblongata. First of all, let us discuss about each of the divisions of the brain in a brief manner. Before that, let's see the parts in diagram. Here we can observe the brain. The biggest part of the brain, this is called cerebrum, and here pituitary gland is located in the midbrain. This space is called as thalamus, and this is the midbrain. This is the cerebellum, that is the hindbrain. Cerebrum and the brain stem. So this is the interesting fact that our brain comprises only 2% of body weight, that is 1400 grams, but it uses 20% of the energy which is created by our nutrition. So average adult male brain weighs 1375 grams, while female brain weighs 1275 grams. So the male brain is means heavier than the female brain. But overall, the approximate average weight of a human brain is 1400 grams. So let's discuss about the divisions of the brain now. First, we'll discuss about the cerebrum. Before, I have already said that the cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. This cerebrum is divided into two halves called as hemispheres. These two hemispheres are separated by a groove called hemispheric fissure. This cerebrum contains many folds. Observe this diagram properly. This cerebrum contains many folds as you can see here. So these folds appear as elevations and depression. So elevations and depressions. This is the elevation and this is the depression. It appears like this. This is the elevation gyri and this is the depression sulci. So these are the elevations and depressions you can observe in the cerebrum. This cerebrum is containing of again divided into 4 different types. There is frontal lobes, parietal lobes, temporal lobes, and occipital lobes. Frontal lobes. These frontal lobes are present in the front sides of the brain. These frontal lobes controls our high-level behaviors such as problem solving, judgment, planning, and attention towards any work. Parietal lobes. These parietal lobes are present just behind the frontal lobes. These parietal lobes involve in organizing and interpreting sensory information from the other parts of the brain. Coming to the temporal lobes. Temporal lobes are present just behind this parietal, that is near our ears. They coordinate specific functions like visual memory and interpreting the emotions, etc. Occipital lobes. These lobes are present on the back side of our head. These are heavily involved in ability to read and recognize the printed words along with other aspects of vision. So these occipital lobes are very important. Of course, all the lobes are important, and this plays a very important role in reading and writing. And this frontal lobes plays importance and more in the high level behaviors. Parietal lobes involved in organizing and interpreting sensory information, and the temporal lobes coordinates specific functions like visual memory and emotions, etc. Next, now we will discuss about the another parts. Cerebellum. Cerebellum is located in the back of the brain just below the occipital lobes. This cerebellum is involved in motor skills, which refers to the coordination of smaller or finer movements, means the voluntary movements, wow, muscular movements which we do regularly for ourselves, for our needs, to maintain the posture, to maintain the balance, to perform the actions, everything using our body muscular and skeletal system. The cerebellum provides the signal and helps us. The encephalon. The encephalon is located at the base of the brain. This diencephalon contains the thalamus, which acts as relay station. That is, it involves in consciousness, our memory power, and prevents us from sleep or takes us into sleep if we are feeling so tired. This is diencephalon. And the next is brainstem. Brainstem consists of midbrain, pons, and the medulla oblongata. The midbrain. This midbrain, before that, this brainstem is located in front of the cerebellum and connects the spinal cord. This brainstem is located in front of the cerebellum and connects to the spinal cord. So this midbrain helps to control the eye movement and process visual auditory information. Pons. Pons varioly. This is the largest part of the brain stem. It is located below the midbrain. It is a group of nerves that help to connect different parts of the brain. The pons varioly also contains the start of some of the cranial nerves. So the cranial nerves are the nerves which emerge from the brain. The cranial nerves are the nerves which emerge from the brain. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves present in our body. So some of the cranial nerves start from the pons varolii. These nerves are involved in facial movements, that is, our expressions, angry, laughing, happy, sad, etc. Medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is also part of brainstem. It is the lowest part of the brain. This medulla oblongata acts as control center for the function of heart and lungs. Those are involuntary actions. Medulla oblongata helps us to perform respiration and circulation processes. These are the involuntary actions controlled by the medulla oblongata. So let us observe this all the parts clearly in detailed structure of brain. Here you can observe a human head and reducing the layers, the skin and the bone structures, we will find our brain inside the cranium. This is our brain. Here you can observe this is the frontal lobe, and this frontal lobe, we already know these frontal lobes control our behavior. So we already discussed that this the cerebrum which is present is divided into the two hemispheres. So here the cerebrum is divided into the two hemispheres, the right and the left hemisphere. So this right hemisphere controls the left part of the body and the left hemisphere controls the right part of the body. Here you can also observe this back part, which is the cerebellum. Observing carefully, here you can find the pituitary gland, which is the smallest gland here. It is called the master gland of the body since it controls the endocrine glands. This part is the brainstem, which is the lowest part. This part is the cerebellum. So this is the total structure of the brain. So these are the frontal lobes, the parotid lobes, and backside you can observe occipital lobes. So here are those, and the optic lobes are present in the midbrain, which will be visible now. This is the cranium in which the brain is present. Here you can observe the optic nerves connected from eye to the midbrain. So these are called the optic lobes. These optic nerves are connected to the midbrain to the optic lobes. Here you can observe the optic nerve. And here, after this medulla oblongata, the spinal cord is connected to the brain. Here, this is the part cerebellum. You can observe it clearly. Here, this is the brainstem. It contains the pituitary gland, the pons varolii, and this is the brainstem. On this, the midbrain is arranged. Here you can see the midbrain, which contains the optic lobes. and this is the cerebellum, and this is the cerebrum, which is the largest part. This is the total structure of the brain. Now we will discuss about the spinal cord. The spinal cord extends from the back of the hindbrain to the back of the stomach or the lumbar region through this neutral canal of the vertebral column. Here you can observe the location of the spinal cord in this diagram. It extends from here, the back of the hindbrain, that is the brain stem, which you just observed, to the back of the stomach. Spinal cord. This spinal cord is also called as peripheral nervous system. Many scientists studied about the spinal cord, that is the total nervous system briefly. So some scientists observed in some animals the response was for stimuli was present even though the brain was absent. The Leonardo da Vinci and Stephen Hales recorded the survival of frogs whose brains were removed. So they observed the muscular movements were still present even though the brain was absent. So they concluded that the nerves originate from spinal cord or spinal nerves, and the nerves which originate from the brain are called cranial nerves. Both have different functions. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves, whereas 12 pairs of cranial nerves. The peripheral nervous system. This is the transverse section of a spinal cord. This is the dorsal side, there is the back side, this is the ventral side, front side. This is the dorsal horn, this is the ventral horn, this is the dorsal root, which is connecting the nerve to the dorsal side, and this is the ventral root, which is connecting the nerve, that is the motor nerve, to the ventral horn. And this is the dorsal root ganglion. First of all, we have to know that the both dorsal and the ventral doesn't perform the similar activities. In this peripheral nervous system, the dorsal root will carry the sensory information from the muscles, the sense organs, and the information will be processed here, and the information, the immediate response to stimuli will be sent from the ventral portion. So this is observed by the scientists. The peripheral nervous system is a vast system of the dorsal and ventral nerve cells, heads, and the network of spinal and cranial nerves that are linked to the brain and the spinal cord on the one end and the muscles on other. The dorsal root carries messages of sensation inwards while the ventral pathway carries outwards. So this now which I have said, this dorsal root carries messages of sensation towards the spinal cord, and the ventral pathway carries the message outwards to instruction to the effector organs. The peripheral nervous system is also called autonomous nervous system because it controls some of involuntary actions. Some of involuntary actions are controlled in this. The sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerves together constitute to this autonomous nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is formed by chain of ganglia on either side of the vertebral column and associated nerves. So this sympathetic nervous system is formed by the chain of the ganglia on either sides of vertebral column of the both combination of the both sensory and motor nerves on the either sides of the spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system is formed by the nerves arising from the ganglia. This ganglia is present somewhere here. This is the spinal cord. Ganglia is present here. The autonomous system. Here you can observe the ganglion, the medulla oblongata. Here The parasympathetic system. The controls of parasympathetic system and the sympathetic system are given here. The parasympathetic system controls the contraction of the pupil, inhibits, stimulates the flow of saliva, controls the heartbeat, constricts bronchi, stimulates peristalsis and secretion of gases in the digestive system, stimulates release of bile, and contracts blood. While the sympathetic system functions to dilate pupil, inhibit flow of saliva, accelerate heartbeat, dilate the bronchi, inhibits the peristalsis and secretion of the digestive juices, conversion of glycogen into glucose in the liver, secretion of adrenaline and noradrenaline by the pancreas, inhibits bladder contraction. So both are opposite. Here in parasympathetic, take parasympathetic, it will constricts, that is contracts the pupil, while the sympathetic system will dilate the pupil. So this is the total autonomous nervous system. And today in this video, we discussed about the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, and also the autonomous nervous system and about the brain and the spinal cord also. So in our next video, we will learn about the discovery of pancreas and the coordination with our nerves, chemical coordination, and the control mechanism in the plants. Subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for the latest updates of my videos. If you like this video, like and share this video and wait for the next part. We'll learn more about this chapter.